All right. Hi. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Tech Academy's Friday Tech Talks. Today, we're joined by Adam Gomez. He's a senior UI UX designer here in Portland for a company called HealthSpark. But today, he's going to talk about networking and the importance of networking. He's built himself quite a vast network, and now it lands him job opportunities basically on the daily. So he's going to share with us how to approach networking from the standpoint of a Tech Academy graduate and steps you could be taking to start getting job offers instead of looking for them yourself. So without any further ado, I will let Adam go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. I wanted to confirm one thing here. Sorry. All right. Can someone say something real quick?
Hi,
okay.
Adam.
I can. Cool. All right.
Hi, Adam.
Sorry, my headphones are not connected. All right. So it's the title. It says healthy networking habits. I think that early on, I was pretty aggressive with my networking, and I can talk to you about that, and then also about how I've changed that after I ramped up on my networking. Little introductions. I'm a father of a husband and father of 2 children, and I have a cute dog. I work at HealthSpark. I've been at Cambia, for over 7 years, Cambia companies, and HealthSpark's one of them. I'm interested in design, startups, art, painting, and barbecue. I went down the rabbit hole and when I got a Traeger, and so I was cooking everything I could get my hands on. So that's a bit a hobby. So before I go into, I'm going to tell you kind of a story, but before I do, I just wanted to lay the groundwork so you have some context of what I based a lot of my networking strategies on. And so building upon common interests and beliefs, it's what do you have in common with the person you're trying to connect with? What areas of interest would this person and yourself enjoy talking about, maybe on a Zoom call or in person? What cues can you use to start a conversation? And shoot, what is that thing? Yeah. All right, can you still see the screen? All right. And what ways can you turn the conversation into adding value to the person you're trying to network with? Building relationships of trust, often comes by, just adding value to people and being a support. And there's lots of ways you can do that, which I'll get into. And then committing people to do things that are in there that would benefit them. As you're networking and building relationships, you're going to get to know and you find out things that would help them grow in their career, help their business, help their family, maybe a family member. And so you're going to be looking for ways that you can help them grow. And the other one is following up with their commitments and supporting them and helping them keep them. And and then also you can continue to do all of these steps continually. All right. So this is kind of a hilarious slide. In 2008, I was underpaid, undervalued. I didn't enjoy the management team that was, I was under. I felt trapped. I was jaded, and I was pissed off. Like, I think so. And then I said, what was I going to do about it? So I don't think I would have done as much if I didn't get to this point of being so and upset. So once I got there, and I ended up setting an outrageous goal, like one that maybe I couldn't attain. And it was to always have multiple exit strategies in play at any given time. And I'll get into more of that. So these are some of the actions I took to meet that goal. So I built out my LinkedIn profile. I updated my resume, aligned it with a LinkedIn profile. I updated my portfolio site. I built out a ton of recommendations. And recommendations are tricky because if you're not working with that person currently, then you're out of sight, out of mind. So the ideal time to build recommendations is when you're working with somebody on a project, when you're 80% done with a project and you've delivered a ton and they're happy with you, and it's the eye of the hurricane where it's peace and calm, before the end of the project and everything's rushed, getting everything done. They're happy with you, and they're going to see you or talk with you every day for the next 2 weeks, and they're reliant on you delivering something, more amazing work, right? So that's the perfect time to ask for a recommendation. And I can give you some more tips about strategies on getting recommendations and supporting people in writing them if we have time later. So I went and joined meetup groups, attended them in person, joined Slack groups and spectrum chat groups, and lots of different communities and Discord and other places. And then, I built out those profiles on a lot of different job sites, and really those job sites can be useful in the sense that you're curating data that will come to you so you know about jobs that are open. You may not necessarily use that job site to apply for the job, but it's a data point. And I also created RSS feeds for job sites and also subscribed to their emails so that I was informed, what companies are hiring, and I got these updates. Obviously, updates are pointless unless you're gonna, take action on it. But it's good to have them there when you need them. So when I was at the state of underpaid, right? I decided, okay, how much am I worth? I need to know that so that I can better negotiate, better target the right jobs that are going to pay well. So I decided I wouldn't take jobs that were below the value that I determined, and pay. And also culture, I didn't want to work for a company that was destroying the planet. And I wanted a company that treated their employees well and had good core, values and that they followed. So I defined also so I would turn down roles that weren't a match, and these recruiters, they or hiring managers or people I was network working with, they would come to me for roles that were less pay or roles that weren't a perfect match. And so I would define what role I was actually interested in and the pay range, so that, and then also I would provide them with leads for the role that for the role that I was turning down, right? To build a relationship with that recruiter or hiring manager so that they would come back to me when there was other leads that were a match. So I built relationships that would be long-term. And the goal of that also is because everyone goes somewhere. So these recruiters early on ended up moving to other recruitment firms, moving internally at companies I was interested in. And I continued the conversation, and it was good. There's tons of job sites, ones that I kind of like have valued the most, like is LinkedIn, or like back in the day, Authentic Jobs was good, but it's less relevant now. Like it got sold, and so the jobs are not as amazing. ZipRecruiter was handy because you would know about roles, jobs that existed, from that were happening, quickly. And also you could apply to some jobs quickly if you didn't have time and you saw the job that's been open for like 2 months and you like, okay, I'm just gonna apply. You can do the easy apply, without the cover letter, but so you don't miss out on an opportunity that existed, right? But I'm going to talk to you more about ways, better strategies than just applying directly to a job. That's not the way to go, because you're just going to get filtered out potentially with, and there's just a lot of percentage chance that you may not get an interview. Some remote sites that I've used in the past, I think that's more relevant now, even more with COVID and everyone being remote. Remotive, Remote OK, Virtual Vocations, We Work Remotely, and Brain Trust. Brain Trust is a new one. It's built on blockchain, and it's definitely one to look out for. And they're creating some really good partnerships with some top companies. And it's all remote through Brain Trust, which is cool. Some research tools that I use when I'm needing information about people, whether emails or their contact information, so that I can send a connection request or send an intro. These ones have been handy. I just use this free one on seamless.ai and Hunter. You have a certain amount of free that you can use. I haven't done Zoom Info yet, but they just went IPO a little while ago. So I'm excited about trying that out. Crunchbase and Owler I use for competitive analysis on like when I'm infiltrating an entire industry. So let me go back here for a second. Okay. So one thing about the goal is that that I would be able to land or have an offer in 2 weeks' time, if I decided to leave or if there was a layoff. And that means that I would have multiple people wanting to interview me, multiple people wanting to submit me for a role, invite me to coffee or lunch for coffee to meet their team, phone screens or Zoom calls, and also be in the second and third rounds of interviews. I talk to so many people who they work at a company and they get laid off, and they don't think about networking until they're laid off. And if you have friends like me, that's okay. Like I take care of my friends. Like if they need help, I help them. Land new gigs and get opportunities. But it's good to always to continue to be networking. Some of the strategies that I employ is the Tsunami. So connecting with 20 to 40 to 60 plus people at a company, you're going to be more likely to have people accept your connection request if you're already connected with people at that company. So I'm saying that you should also send direct messages that are relevant to their profile. So you have to do your homework on the profile, figuring out how you can add value to that person, an entry point for organic conversation, and ways that you can, find out more about the company, but more in an organic way. And so I would connect with a range of people at all levels of the company. So everybody from, the janitor to the VC that invested in the company, everybody is valuable. People have barbecues, they have family, and they talk. And you want to be the person that gets referred. And so just because, you may think that somebody's lower than you or lower than, your time, that's a mistake. Some people disagree with that, but I definitely value people, and that it's a way that has benefited me also, but also it's just the right thing to do. Some people don't really some people, you may not see like the value until you do it, right? All right, so I have an example here. Project manager Kim might be best buds with the CEO Joe, right? Designer John might have a huge influence over with the hiring manager Bill. Bill may ask John for leads, people to interview, to help with interviews. Back end developer Caitlin eats lunch and plays games with the hiring manager Bill most every day of the week. So don't limit the variables and possible connections that would get you to the source of the hiring manager. Most often people around the hiring managers help choose to who's going to get hired, and often give referrals to the hiring manager, and oftentimes we'll know about a job before the job has even been placed and there's a job description on a job board. So let's see. And the real key is to put yourself on the radar of people at the company without desperately, being too eager or being too desperate or being too energetic, or asking too much of someone that you don't know yet and hasn't got a vibe if they like you or not. So the key is to network at a company before you need a job. People want what they can't have. So knowing that you're wanted by other companies and other people, and you have other jobs going on, and you have other interviews going on, and you're having interviews, and you have other job offers potentially, that will give you leverage. So and people will want, oftentimes, like, people want to hire people who already have a job, then that's another variable. So the Tsunami one, like, I've helped people, find jobs at companies, and like I will go and get like 200 plus connections at a company to help someone, and then make intros. A bunch of people wanted to work at Amazon, and so I went and got like 700 plus connections at Amazon. One thing I learned is, like, I learned more about the culture, and I have a case study about questions you might ask when you're researching out a company and whether you'd want to work there, which I can get to later. The Wingman, I just think about Goose and, Top Gun or whatever. Networking, for a job and using the wingman approach is kind of like dating. So having a wingman that makes you look good and valuable has results. So also being a wingman for someone else can also put you in a good light and put yourself on the company's radar too. You can come off as someone who is really nice and someone that they should know, and somebody that's connected. Also someone that they'd want to work with, right? So the other part of like the wingman approach is that you can also use the approach of being like, if anybody's watched Jaws, you remember the movie Jaws where they're trying to track the shark, and they chop up all the chum of fish and blood and throw it into the water, and they wait, right? And they set out bait, right? Well, as a wingman for someone else, you can be that. You can be the chum in the water. So for someone else. So like when you're wanting to make an intro for somebody, you can go start organic conversations with somebody at the company or multiple people at the company. They may have a job opening for you, but you don't bring it up. You add value to that person in some way, and you get them interested in you without you saying that you're interested in a job. And then as an afterthought, you make an intro. After you've already added value, you make an intro to the person that is looking for a job at the company. And then you throw them in the water and they get eaten up and hired, right, by the shark. So that approach will put yourself on other people's radar. So it goes to both ways. You can get somebody to help you and they're your wingman, or you can be the wingman for somebody else. Honestly, I think being the wingman for someone else is more effective and gets more people coming back to you and asking you to apply for a job. So you're on their radar, and you don't even have to apply. They just ask you to apply, or they invite you to an interview, or they invite you to the office to meet their team. All right, so I killed the wingman one. Okay, so I have some of my terms, I'm like infiltrate, it's like so intense. But when you want to grow a network and have a valuable network, you need to make connections. You need to talk to people. So one way I think about is that I'll go to CB Insights. They have infographics, so you could search on Google CB Insights, AI industry, or gaming industry, or whatever industry, and you can find images without having to sign up for CB Insights, and it will have all the logos of the industry. And then you go and you're like, okay, well, I didn't even know about any of these companies in this industry. That's pretty cool. And then you go and infiltrate them, and you get like 60 plus connections at all of those companies in that entire industry. The thing about industries is that people move from company to company, and as developers and designers, you don't necessarily, you can work in any industry. You can go get a job at NASA as a UX designer, or as a developer. So doing some research on the types of industries that you are interested in, can be valuable. One thing I did, I went through LinkedIn and I looked in all of their categories on the industries that they have, and I got them all and I listed them all out, and I was like, and I started researching different industries that I find interesting, and different ones that pay more than other industries, right? So those are some ways that you can really like get a foothold and get on the radar of people in that industry. While you're doing that, you want to find out where these people are. Are they on Slack channels? Are they on Spectrum? Are they on Reddit? Like, wherever they are and talking about development or programming, then that's where you need to go. So LinkedIn is not necessarily the place where all the hiring managers and developers hang out. It's not, but it's one of the best places to go to really expand your network and have a touch point to everybody at the company. All right, so let's see. I talked about, yeah, so I'll go down rabbit holes on industries and network. Another thing that's hilarious is like you could watch a Netflix documentary and they'll name drop all these companies. And you're like, okay. So I would start searching up these companies that are name dropped and find out what industries they're in and find out who their competitors are. And you get way more exposure. Having more of a network and more exposure to knowing what's out there set yourself at ease and allows you to to interview better and be less nervous and will be less desperate. All right, so I think I already talked about this in entire industries, putting yourself on their radar. I've talked about some of those ways already. Like sometimes I will go see a job posting and I will go and follow, like if it's a small company, I'll go follow everybody at the company. And then in my feed on LinkedIn, I will see who's got promoted, who's been posting and promoting their product, right? Also, if it's a new product, I will be an early adopter and I'll have them market to me and I'll get all their emails when they market to me. And then I can use those emails to reach out and connect with them on LinkedIn and elsewhere. So we can talk more about putting on the radar in question time. So I think I already talked about this, like introducing others, like this is like the strategy. Like you want to introduce somebody, you add value again if you can, and then make an intro to the person that you're trying to help get a job as an afterthought. And then they're even more excited because like, oh, by the way, I noticed that you had a job posting and I know somebody that would be perfect for that. And it's more of an afterthought. It's not like you're like helping somebody who's desperate finding a job. Well, actually you are, right? They're like, help me find a job. I've been out of code school for 6 months and I have twins and I might have to move back to New York, and move in with my parents. And that happened. There was a guy that was like that, and I introduced him to 30 people in the first week, and then the next week I introduced him to another 20 or 30, did a post for him on my profile, and he had a job in 11 days. But it was because of the exposure and the conversations he was having. So if you're not talking to people in your job search, then you're not practicing, you're not getting exposure. So you need to be talking to more people. And even if it's just informational interviews, even if it's just, making friends because you have common interests, but get out there and talk. Get some cheerleaders. So you don't want to be the tool that's like always promoting himself and like, oh, I'm so awesome. Don't do that. Like be like the master of this is like gosh, drawing a blank on his name. He was in Bill Ted's Excellent Adventure. And anyways, you guys can guess who that is. But the way he does things is he always like diverts praise and praises others, right? But it's helpful to have other people who are praising or being a cheerleader for you in your job search, being a support, but also being there to help make intros, but also to talk you up, give you recommendations. And the way to make cheerleaders is by being a good friend and adding value to those people and helping them when they need help and being a support. I think I talked about this a little bit. Getting companies to ask you to apply instead of applying first. So applying first, you're gonna be like you're gonna be applying to jobs, but things are getting more automated. They're using artificial intelligence now. They're scanning for keywords, and sure, you can use scanners out there, and to scan your resume to make sure you have all the right keywords. You should do that. I have an example of one that I can send you. But you don't, that's not where you want to be. You want to be the person that's, being asked to apply. You want to be the person that's being referred by somebody who already is working there, or be referred by somebody who worked with the people that are at that company. Or at an agency that's does work for that company and is working with them on a daily basis. So yeah, okay, covered that. So posting and sharing valuable content consistently, that can grow your network a lot. I think the majority of the content that I did when I started was sharing resources and things that I've been learning, things that I'm interested in, and things I found valuable, and also sharing and posts about people that I'm trying to help, right? So I ended up getting, there's times where I had like 3,000 to 16,000 page views on posts, and that's helpful. So when you need a job or a friend needs a job, you can do a post. And I did that for somebody who I met at a meetup group, and she landed a good job because of the post. Someone in the post that I knew introduced her to the hiring manager, and she was a data analyst that got a job. Her first job, she was a school teacher for 10 years prior, and did a year of schooling and changed fields. So if she would have never went to that meetup group, PDX Tech downtown, with Tupton, we would have never met. And if I would have never overheard that she was looking and started a conversation, that wouldn't, we would have never really had a conversation. So post content, there's in the future, I'm going to be posting more content about networking, about designs, and business development. But find out what you're interested in, and then you can be you can share what you're about, right? When you're interviewing and you're talking to people, put on the face of yourself. Like, be yourself. If people don't want to talk to you, that's fine. And one thing that I tell people often is like, practice getting rejected so that you can get over the fear of it and get over it. I network and try to get connections with people who I think would say no. And I actively do that, out of my reach, and I find a way to add value to them. Even if I'm just a designer guy, right? You can add value. Like, so, whether it's like a VC list that you put together that you're going to share with a CEO of a company, or make an intro to a startup that needs a CFO or CTO or VP of engineering, you can add value. And some people will say, I only connect with people I've met in person. I was like, all right, it's too bad, because I want to introduce you to this person that I think would be a perfect, person to chat with and network with, because they produce a lot of similar content, and you both have the same outlook, on design. So anyways, okay, we can move on. So Slack, Spectrum chat groups, Discord groups, there's a billion of them. I've joined a billion of them. Not all of them will always be your friend forever, but it's good to have access to some, and also find ones that you really can connect with people in that, and also volunteer, become a member of the meetup group. I did that for Content Strategy PDX. I hosted the event, got money for the event, and then they're like, I was doing work for like 8 months or whatever, and they're like, you should just be one of the organizers. You're doing a lot of the work. And so I continue doing it, and you get to meet great people, and you learn a lot. And even though it was content strategy, and that's not like fully my jam, who do the content strategy people work with? Well, they work with designers and developers. So think outside of the box, network with all kinds of people, because you'll get, it'll benefit you. I think I talked about this already, being an early adopter of beta software, and Product Hunt is a good place to be alerted of new technology that's coming out. And be a connector. Take the time to connect people that you think that would never meet in this lifetime, but they should meet. And maybe they have the same passion for fashion design or whatever, like, and that they should be introduced. Take the time and make the intro, and you'll be amazed at the energy that can happen from these intros. Helping people without being expected in anything in return, like your goal, yeah, you need a job now, right? But your goal should be to add value, build a network, and trust me that the karma or the positive vibes or whatever will come back to you if you put good out in the world and you help people. Yeah, I said this, practice getting rejected and be okay with it. Yeah, I already touched that. All right. Yeah, connect with everybody. I talked about that. Be a mentor. Just because you're a junior in your field doesn't mean that you can't mentor people. There's new students coming into schools. There's other people who are in completed the same level of schooling, but maybe could use some mentorship, and yeah, get multiple mentors. People always ask me, like, how do I get a good mentor, right? Well, you need to talk to people, and you need to profile people, figure out if this person is somebody who would engage, and somebody that you would want to, spend time with and be able to get to know and also add value to. So mentorship goes both ways. If you're a leech and you don't bring anything to the table, the mentorship's not going to go that great. So being somebody that they would want to be around and learn from is great. I mean, I've had mentors before, and I ended up learning from them, and I ended up being able to teach them stuff that they weren't aware of. So okay. Okay, Lego case study, time check. All right, we got 5 minutes left before questions. So, it should be like let go. I messed up the T. The Let Go app that got purchased by OfferUp recently. But before it was purchased, I was using the Lego app and I was curious. And that's another thing is like being curious about things. I was curious about where that company worked and lived, right? Where is the company based? Do I have any connections at that company yet? Now that I have connections at the company, who do I want to engage with? How can I add value to the people that I engage with there? What kind of organic conversations can I start? Can I use myself as bait, to start these conversations if they're looking for talent like me? If they're looking for talent like me, and I'm not interested, who can I introduce to them so they can make a hire? Who invested in that company? What other companies did that investor invest in also? What companies did the current employee come from previously? What companies do the employees leave to after working at Lego? Where people would go from, Urban Airship to New Relic, right? To Renew Financial. And then, but you can follow kind of like where the trajectory of people are going, and getting hired at. After going through that process, okay, so I actually went and did this. So I did all that. And I actually made a connection with a VC firm that staffs startups with talent. And the VC firm invested in, Let Go. And so I made a connection with somebody who was in the process, her job was to help hire people at startups in Spain. And I was able to make intros to other people, that I was helping. And then also have the possibility, like, would I want to move to Spain, and I learned a lot about Spain in the process. So I think going and doing those things are valuable. Somebody asked me, like, how do you go about, making connections, at a company? How do you do that? And it's really like by asking questions and going and seeking to find the answer. So like, what is the culture like at Amazon? What orgs of Amazon are the best to work for? What projects can I get to work on? What problems would I get to solve? What location does Amazon have developers or designers? What kind of relationships do the designers have with the development? And what is their design process? Or, do they use agile development? What is their management style? What is the pay for each role in the UX field? What does Glassdoor pay scale comparably have to say about the company regarding interview process, pay ranges, and culture? What has that company, what's their, have they had layoffs? Do they have regular layoffs, every year, every couple of years? Understand what the cadence of those are, because it can help you in your strategies. Who normally gets laid off and what departments go first? That's helpful. What roles do they hire first right off after they have layoffs? What recruitment firms work with the internal hiring managers and recruiters? So understanding the structure of companies and who's on the vendor list for recruitment firms and who's the top of the vendor list. Well, you might want to be working with the top couple people at that company if you wanted to get cemented, but you don't necessarily need recruiters. However, recruiters can be extremely helpful, and also the relationships they build with internal hiring managers and recruiters are strong. And so they will go with a decision from a candidate that came in through a relationship that is strong over somebody that just applies directly sometimes. So think about that. Who do I already know there? How can I add value to them right now? What recruitment events are they having, and how can I get it on the radar and get an invite? What teams in this company are getting the most financial and money to build, and how let's see, like what are the company goals and incentives? Then I go and get those answers. You know, I go and network, and I get, you know, I get the answers to those questions, and then when I'm making intros, I'm more informed, and I'm more sought after because of what I know. So yeah, all right. So I think we can go to questions now. Here's my social media stuff. I'm really active on LinkedIn and somewhat on Twitter, and then Instagram is mainly just my smoked meats and food. But anyways, let's go to questions if anybody has any.
Hey, Adam, first of all, I want to say thank you for everything. I mean, I think you hit on a lot of really important points there, stuff that we probably have not heard before. And so I think we definitely got a lot of value out of this when it comes to how to meet people, how to go about networking, or, like, you know, reaching out and selling ourselves and who to talk to. And it really sounds like everybody. So that's really awesome. Yeah, we can go ahead and open up to questions. If anybody has a question, you can either write it in the chat or just go ahead and shout out, and we can call you out. So if not, then I have some questions here.
I have a quick question. So you have thousands of links on LinkedIn, and that's an impressive network. And a lot of the things that you're saying about how to make connections, add value, that's really, I mean, that's, you know, great advice. And I'm just wondering, you know, to get those thousands of connections, it's hard for me to understand how, you know, the time management plays into this. I mean, if you're trying to, you know, once you have a job and you're saying continue to build these networks, you know, to continue to service that size of a network, and maybe your brain is just like, you know, you got big brain and you can keep all that stuff going on in your head. But I think with a network that size, it would be very difficult for me to just, you know, I don't know, to just service that,
Yeah.
continue to add value to that many people. And you were saying that in the beginning you had like this brute force approach, and then you really kind of became more selective as you went. I was wondering if you could explain, like, how do you manage the, like, if you were to build a strategy now after doing this whole thing, how many hours would you expect to put into this? You know, I know going to meetups and all that, that's fun. That's cool stuff. You're meeting people and things that you enjoy to do already. But how do you integrate this into your daily life so that you can get the work done that you need to get done for the current job you have? And then how much time do you spend managing your network realistically? And how do you go about like managing that whole process?
Yeah, I think with anything, you need balance, right? Early on in like your job search, like you're gonna put in whatever freaking amount of time you need to get the job. So like, if that means that I'm gonna be like, you know, I mean, I was adding 1,500 connections within a week and a half's time. I was getting that many people accepting my connection request. And if you haven't beefed out your profile to where people are actually interested in connecting with you, and they have something to go on, then it's gonna be harder, right? So first off, you gotta really like flush out your profile and start getting that fully baked. And doesn't mean you can't connect with people. It just means that they may be less likely to connect with you. I mean, I've gone for 2 weeks straight where I was like, I'm done with LinkedIn. Like I'm just like, I'll just take a break. So I'm just like, I'm not gonna do anything with LinkedIn for a week straight, and that's okay, and just be okay with that. So I think it's like finding times where, you know, like I put my kids to bed at night. So it's like, I'm not going to, between me getting off work and spending time with my family and putting my kids to bed, like I'm not going to be doing any of that networking stuff. But later on, after I put my kids to bed, I might spend an hour or two, or less. And then, in the morning, I might spend a little bit of time. Oftentimes, like somebody will need an intro or something, and maybe I'll do it doing it at lunchtime. For them, it's like, I'll make one intro, and maybe I'll pre-write that and have them review it before I send it out. Or I will, the night before, I might do a post for somebody, and then I won't post it until, like, I'll have it already written, and I'll put it in Buffer app, and it will go out automatically. So some of the stuff you can automate that you're doing on social media, and then other stuff is more manual, right? So I think everyone needs to take a look at who they are as a person and figure out how you can present your best self, and then use your core strengths to your advantage. So my approach to networking may not be the perfect approach for anyone else. Like if you don't want to make introductions to people or help people on that, it doesn't mean you have to do that approach. So I think as you talk to more people, more strategies will come into play, and it'll come to mind like, oh, I could do this for that person, or I could. So like recently, like myself following companies, I haven't been connecting with them as much. I just do the quick follow, and then they'll connect with me, right? So I kind of saving some time to where I'm like, okay, I don't necessarily need their connection right now, but I want to get on their radar. And if they want to engage with me, that's cool. And so in the past, I would do the time. I would go get 60 plus connections with tons of companies in that industry. But you just gotta have balance. And me personally, like my son's dyslexic, so I'm probably dyslexic, and so I have a freak memory. So I make these connections to people I've met, and then I connect these people. So having good notes about, if you need to do that, then you can use Notion or Google Docs or spreadsheets or Airtable or other tools. But that's a long-winded answer. I apologize.
I think for that answer, and I think for me, what I'm getting from all of that, which is all really great information, is that it sounds like you've made a commitment to doing this networking and you're integrating that into essentially your daily, if not weekly schedule, so that you're saying, I heard things like, right before I go to bed, or when I wake up in the morning. So these are things that it sounds like you're integrating in between your work time and your family time and everything, but you made a commitment at some point, maybe it was early on, but you're sticking to it. And that's why it's probably top of mind and easier for you as well, I would imagine, is because if you're always thinking about those networking opportunities and you're always working through that on a daily basis, then you've prioritized that, and it makes sense that it's really paying off for you. So, good job. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, I think you can be completely happy with your day job, like I am. Like my day job's great. I enjoy the people I work with. We do great work. We're doing things that help people, and still network. It's okay. I still take interviews. It's a conversation. It's not. I'm not. It's not a bad thing. And it's just making sure I'm practiced enough so that if there was a need, I could get a job quickly and easily to have security for my family. But I'm like, the grass is not always greener once you find a good place. and I've been there 7+ years, you know, so that's valuable. Is any other questions?
Yeah, George in the Slack asked if you could give an example of adding value before you know, how do you add value to a connection or a company or something like that? If you have any examples.
Yeah, you bet. So, okay, this happened. So I found out a company called Big Leaf. And I was like, I saw a job posting and I was like, okay, I'm going to go follow and connect with a bunch of people there, start some combos. So I did that. One of the people that I had a conversation with ended up reaching out to me because I already had value to that person. And then she reached out to me because she knew that I could help her hire a developer. And so I took the time to introduce her to somebody to hire. I set up I made the intro for all of us to have a meeting, the three of us. And then she ended up hiring the candidate. In addition to that, I introduced her to a development firm who I had met with and networked with. And I helped them by giving them a lead on Big Leaf Networks. And so I introduced them and they interviewed also. So you can add value by helping the company hire more people, helping people get a promotion somewhere. Sometimes what's crazy is that you can introduce somebody at a company to someone else in the company that, because they're working in silos, they don't even know these people exist. But you're like, oh, these people should talk. Like they're in the same company, but they don't even know each other. I've done that before where I've made intros there. Sharing resources that you think that would be valuable, giving design feedback. You know, you might have a resource on a development process or tool that a company should be using. You could add value that way. Like I shared one a little while ago about the SVG Go. It's like a SVG JavaScript tool for implementing icons on your site. And just little things like that are like was time saving that can help people. Sometimes it's like helping somebody's friend or relative find a job, you know, or have a lead on a job. The more you network, the more you're going to see connections, you know. So, and I've helped people in all kinds of industries. So like, don't, just because you're a developer doesn't mean you only help people in development field. Like I've helped people in finance and like, you know, content strategy and project management and like just lots of different ones. So, I mean, really, I'll size up somebody's profile and I'll see how I have common interests and ways I can add value. Sometimes you won't know until you have the conversation. But once you have a conversation with somebody, it's really easy to ask good questions that will lead to a way you can add value to them. So good listening skills when you're talking to people so that you can be able to identify that way you can add value to them. And then, but I don't know, long-winded again, sorry.
No, that's great. I think that's a really good answer. I mean, even if it's long-winded, it's just more information, which is awesome. I think we have time for one last quick question here before we hop off, though. We had one more talking about, you know, identifying your own value and how you can, you know, sell yourself based on your value. Like, how do you determine your value when you are a entry-level candidate fresh out of a boot camp?
Yeah. One way is to like, I think developers are similar to how designers feel. They're always more critical about their own work than other people's work. They like praise other people's work, and then you like denigrate your own work. And you know, if you did a logo design or you did a project that was for someone else, you know, versus your own project, like it's a whole lot easier to do something for someone else than yourself. So I think just understanding that about yourself, that maybe you have a tendency to do that and to downplay your skills, and realize that you need to stop doing that. You need to, like, you know, like me apologizing for, you know, talking too long on an, you know, answering a question, you know, I shouldn't say I'm sorry, you know. So, and then also doing the research. So I remember, like, you don't really know how much you're worth until you actually, like, test it. So, like, I would say go find, like, like, say a staffing firm comes and they're like, hey, we found this role, you know, do we want to place you at? And that's great. And they're like, well, what is your range? You know, and I mean, I'll send you guys some networking strategy stuff I found on LinkedIn of some really great for negotiation strategy. But, you know, you can do this where you can think about how much salary you want, right? You want to be okay, that you'd be okay with, and then convert it to hourly, and then tell them that, but have them understand that you mean hourly when really you only mean salary. And then they'll come back with a number and they'll be like, oh, we can't do that, but we can do this. So, like, you might say, like, want, you know, 80 to 95, and they'll be like, oh, we can only do 55 an hour. And you're like, all right, go ahead and submit me for that rate. I'll be okay with that. And then, yeah, you're okay with it because it's the salary you're wanting, right? So a lot of times whoever talks first with money can, you know, loses, right? So you don't want to do that. So I'll send you guys the negotiation ones that I've come across. But other times, like, if you're not great at negotiation, you just need to be better at having more options on the table. That's your leverage, having other offers on the table. So I was on contract to hire for like 3 months and then another 3 months. And every time I had to line up interviews for other jobs so that I had leverage, so that when I got hired and converted to full time, that I would get the pay that I'm wanting. And I could still say no to these other places. I could compare the benefits package. And the other thing is to go talk to people who have already converted to full time, people who are already hiring, and find out what they are making. I mean, more, like, it's not illegal to say how much you make and how much you make at a company. Companies do not want you to say that. Like, they don't want it to have you to say that. So, however, like, we want more equal pay for women, and, you know, so there's posts on Twitter, you know, where people will just go post their salaries out there so women understand, like, hey, you need to be demanding more money, and this is how much I'm making in California or Oregon or, you know, in the Bay Area, and people's eyes are open. So, you know, look for people who are bringing awareness to that, and also do your homework on Comparably, Pesa, Glassdoor, and those aren't always accurate, right? So talk to real people, and you don't necessarily ask them, like, hey, how much do you make? You don't do that, but people will share information when they feel comfortable sharing, and you don't necessarily need to know their salary to know how much the company is paying. You can do your homework on Crunchbase and, like, how much money did they get funded? Like, if they are a startup and they have 1 million of funding the first round, and then they just got like 2 more million in funding, and their team's already like at 15 or 20, and that's not much money. So they're not going to be able to hire a bunch more people and if they have a tons of jobs opening, you know, most likely their pay rate may not be well, right? It might not be great. There'll be like try to give you incentives with, you know, stock options and whatever. My advice is to get the money, go, you know, get the salary you're wanting. One of the negotiation videos that I came across is it breaks down like how much, what's your walkaway rate, what's the rate you'd be okay with, and what would be the nice to have, like, and breaking down those numbers so that you can be empowered, you know, in those negotiations or when you're getting offers and whatnot. All right. Was that helpful?
That was super helpful. I think that was a good, yeah, there's a lot to do there, lots to think about there, which is awesome. I think we're coming towards the end here. I wanted to say thank you again so much, Adam. I think you really gave us a lot to think about there, a lot to consider and a lot to move forward with. So I really appreciate your time. Everybody should go find Adam on LinkedIn. Adam, see what he's, you know, add him on LinkedIn and see what he's doing, and take his advice, because it's never too late, never too early to start networking, and it's incredibly valuable. Rick, did you have anything else you wanted to add before we jump to the end here?
No, I think it was really good talk with really good tips and strategies for networking. And it really emphasized how important networking is when you're getting into the industry. And you really need to put in the time and effort. That's a key takeaway.
And
yeah, absolutely. I would absolutely agree. All right. Well, thank you so much, Adam. We really appreciate your time. And we will, we will take all your advice into consideration.
all right, I look forward to networking with you all, and you know, don't be shy and reach out to me, and also, yeah, thanks a lot for the invite. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'd love to have you. Thank you so much, guys. Everybody have a great night.
All right. Thanks, Adam. We appreciate it. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
Thank you, Adam. I really appreciate it.
See ya.